Today, I'm going to tell you about the absolute best books I read in 2024. Yay! All right, now go get a pen and a sheet of paper. Oh, you don't think I'm serious? I will sit here and I will wait. Cuz you need to write these books down so you can go and read them. Okay, so we're just gonna hop straight into it. I'm so excited to tell y'all about the books that I loved this year. So, in December of 2023, yes, 2023, I watched all of the Star Wars films for the first time. Well, not all of them. I watched episode 1 through 6, and that those are the only ones that I acknowledge. Okay. And then a few months after that, I watched the Clone Wars and I watched The Mandalorian. That being said, it changed my brain chemistry. Those 6 episodes of Star Wars alone changed my brain chemistry. The movies were incredible. I don't know what it was. I just feel like Star Wars happened to me. Okay. And so at the top of 2024, I immediately asked the question, what can I read with my eyeballs concerning Star Wars? And I read some amazing things. I could probably talk to you for 30 minutes about Star Wars books that I've read in 2024, but I'm just going to highlight my favorite book, and that is Revan, which is part of the Old Republic timeline in Star Wars. And this is written by Drew Karpyshyn. I'm not really sure how to say his name, but I also read another series in the Star Wars universe written by the same author. And if everything ever in Star Wars could be written by this man, I would be down. I would be cool. We don't need nobody. Well, him and Matthew Woodring Stover, those are the only two we need. They're the A team, okay? But what did I love about this? I'm trying to take my Star Wars bias out of the story, but what I loved about this so much is Revan is a wonderful character to have a story written about him because he has served both sides of the Force. He has been a Jedi that then somehow was corrupted and went to the dark side, but then he was able to redeem his character and be back, or accepted back into the Jedi Order. And so this book, I feel like, does a great job of avoiding the whole Sith or bad, Jedi or good thing, right? This is showing us firsthand a lot of the strengths of how the Sith operate, and it's also showing a lot of the weaknesses within the Jedi. How since they're supposed to abandon all emotion, and that isn't really possible because no creature is perfect, how they don't know how to deal with their emotions when they're confronted with difficult things, how they bottle up their emotions, and that can affect their perspective on things. This was just so wonderful from that perspective, but also just from like a Star Wars point of view, all of the things that you learn about the universe, and you get a lot of lore in here too that affects later parts of the Star Wars timeline. Amazing. This is 10 out of 10. Would recommend. Okay. And I also think this is valuable because I think even if you're not into Star Wars, this is a great story. I said what I said. Okay. So the next book I want to talk about is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. Guys, I feel like I have said his name in like every video I've recorded so far, and I still don't know how to say his name. But anyways, he is, in my opinion, an incredible writer. Did I try to read his other 2 books? Yes. Were they fun? No. Did I DNF both of them? Yes. But this is, to me, one of the best written mysteries that I've read. And I mean that on a sentence structure level. He is clearly a very talented writer. And for me, this was plotted very well. I keep specifying for me because I feel like this is one of the most divisive books on, like, in the mystery thriller genre. People either really hate it or they really love it. And I guess I'm not entirely sure why it has such how would you spell that? but I'm not entirely sure why it has I can't say it. I'm not entirely sure why the reviews for this are so mixed because like I said, he's a very competent writer. The characterizations were very strong. I was never confused as to what was going on. And at least for me, I actually read this later in my mystery thriller suspense journey. So I was already able to kind of like see things coming in some of the books I had been reading. I didn't see the ending to this coming. If you were able to guess this, growl, you'll get all the cookies because I wasn't able to see the ending coming. So, but I don't know, but maybe people did find this predictable. I didn't. I thought it was a wonderful time. I loved it a lot. This will probably be the last thing I ever read by him because clearly his other attempts at constructing stories are not good. Not good. All right, the next little batch of books I don't have on hand. So let's talk about the last one by Will Dean. Okay. This was giving me early 2000s Final Destination, like M. Night Shyamalan, twisty, turny, punch in the gut kind of vibes, right? So this story follows a man who is on a cruise with his partner. I don't think they're married yet. They might be engaged or something, but they're on a cruise. And one morning he wakes up and he's confused because his partner isn't in bed. And he's like, oh, well, maybe she's in the bathroom. Maybe she's out on the balcony and she's nowhere to be found. She's not in the room. She's not on the balcony. Okay. But then he notices that all of her luggage is gone. So then he's like, okay, this is ultra weird. Did she move rooms in the middle of the night? Did she hide her stuff somewhere in the room? He just doesn't try to think too hard about it. But when he starts to leave the room and he's going down the hallways and he's investigating, he realizes the cruise ship is eerily silent. That is because there is no one else on the cruise ship that he can find. He is all by himself. There's nobody else. Every 20 pages of this book felt like my brain was breaking in the best way possible. All of the reveals, all of the twists, all of the betrayals, it was insane. And right when you think it can't get crazier, it can't get more bonkers, that the characters can't get more fucked up, growl and growl. Will Dean, you did that. You did that. And let me tell you, okay, the last sentence of this book haunts me to this day. To this day. You need to read the last one by Will Dean. I have recommended it in person to as many people as possible. If anybody brings up a book, I'm like, hey, by the way, I know you're talking about the Holy Bible, but have you read the last one by Will Dean? It's that good. I love it so much. Highly, highly recommend. I think for me, that is probably my favorite mystery thriller. Am I going to regret saying that? I don't know. But in this moment, that's how I'm feeling. That's how I'm feeling. All right. So next we have, another one that is like right up there with the last one. We have We Used to Live Here by Marcus Cleawer. See, it would do me a lot of good to take the time to investigate how to pronounce people's names. I just literally never think to do it until I'm recording. Anyways, this book gave me the heebie-jeebies like no other book I think I've ever read has. I think the only other book to give me the heebie-jeebies like this is maybe The Troop by Nick Cutter. But I think for We Used to Live Here, it was so well done and the creep factor was even throughout the entire book. It wasn't just like, one or two moments. No, the whole book. The whole book is just one giant heebie-jeebie. Okay. So the premise of this is there is a couple and what am I saying? the premise of this is a woman is home alone while her wife, I think, is like out on a work trip or something. Her wife isn't home. And a family knocks on the door to their home that they recently moved into. And the man in the family, the dad slash husband, he's like, hey, I know this is kind of weird, but I used to live here as a kid and we were just passing through and I wanted to show my family, the house that I grew up in. And she is a recovering people pleaser. So she's trying to learn how to tell people no, but this guy is just kind of making her feel bad for being hesitant about it. And so long story short, this family does end up coming into the house and shit gets weird and pops off from there. I never knew what was going on, but this to me is how you should be confusing your reader. Okay, I don't think not explaining things at all is how you should confuse a reader, but giving them enough information to try to come to their own conclusions and leading them throughout the plot is the way to confuse your readers. I think just giving them a bunch of random stuff and then not explaining anything ever, I don't think that's the way to go. But in this, it was so well done where we were given little pieces of information so we could eliminate different possibilities. And for me, honestly, I know some people didn't really like the ending because it kind of left it up in the air. But once again, I think if you're going to do kind of an open ending, this is the best way to do it. And I loved it. I loved it so much. Highly recommend for spooky time. When spooky time happened in like 9 or 10 months, read this book. It's so good. It's so good. Okay, what else do we have? So, the next one I do have. This was the year of Riley Sager for me. So what did I read? I read The Only One Left in 2023. And so I said, you know what, 2024, it's going to be my year for Riley Sager. I read Lock Every Door. I read Home Before Dark, I believe, in 2024. I read The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. And this by far is tied in my head with The Only One Left. I do want to reread The Only One Left because I'm not sure if I just was biased towards it because I believe that was my first Riley Sager and just I had special feelings with it. But this was incredible. And here's the thing. I understand why people didn't like the big tweets in this. However, it's confusing for me because then I see a lot of people say that if this story is going to go in that direction, you need to 100% commit to it. Because a lot of people's criticism of Home Before Dark by Riley Sager, which I also thoroughly enjoyed, was that it kept going in that specific direction, but it never committed to it. And not everyone, but a lot of people felt let down or cheated. And so this he went there. He went in that direction, and that's what happened. And people are still mad. I don't know, girl. I was living my best Riley Sager life. I have yet to be disillusioned by Riley Sager. However, it's mostly because I have let those before me suffer so that I can learn. So I refuse to read Survive the Night. I'm definitely not going to read Middle of the Night. I almost pre-ordered Middle of the Night, but something told me. Something told me, no, girl, just wait till the reviews come out. And I'm very happy that I did. So yeah, I've yet to be disillusioned by him. And I'm excited for the book he has coming out this year. I think it's called With a Vengeance or something. I'm ready for it. Riley, don't let me down. Don't let me down. If all I have to go on for the rest of my life is just the relatively small backlist that you have now, I might not be well. Oh, I kicked you. I do have this next book. Hold on. I forgot it's a library book. What can I say? The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett is a masterpiece. In my head, I have named this book The Real House Monks of Kingsbridge because when I tell you, this is the messiest group of monks you will ever come across. Wow. The drama, the mess, the betrayal, the gossip, the plotting, the scheming. Oh my God. There has never been a group of monks more messy than in Kingsbridge, okay? So what's funny is I didn't know anything about this before I went into it. I just read it on a whim, it's crazy to read a 800 page, I think? No, this is almost 1,000 pages. It's wild to read a 1,000 page book on a whim, but this did not read like a 1,000 page book. And after I finish giving this book its praise, I'm going to make a point in a moment because this is my channel and I do what I want. But this did not feel like 1,000 pages, right? So I also thought when I went into this, I thought it was a fantasy. But what is interesting, even though this is a historical fiction, the way that it's written gives you the same magical feeling as a fantasy. So literally at any point during this book, if somebody would have shot lightning and fire from their fingers, I wouldn't have questioned it. And it's not because the story is written in such an extremely, nonsensical way that it would have made sense, in terms of plot continuity, but it just has that magical feeling about it that even though this technically takes place in such a small area, you do follow characters that travel to different countries. And so it expanded the world and it expanded the story, and having them come full circle was just an amazing feeling, because in the span of a single book, I was able to feel like Kingsbridge is home. I was able to go on a journey with these characters as they went to different places. And then I was also able to experience the feeling of coming back home. Like that cozy, we've returned and we're safe here and this is a familiar environment kind of thing within the span of a single book. And it was so incredible. And I'm not a character-driven reader, right? And so the fact that I cared so much about so many of these characters, and then what I also loved is very similar to A Song of Ice and Fire. I either really cared about the characters and I was very interested in their motivations and their decisions and what they were going to do. The other characters, the way I needed them to die a slow, painful death. The way I needed these characters to be put in the blender, I loved it. I love when I'm able to feel that way about a story. Now, there were some parts in here that I didn't love as much, but I'm going to chalk it up to it being a story of its time and it trying to be historically accurate. But as a lady reading this, there was some tough scenes. But yeah, I highly recommend this. I'm not even a historical fiction growly. Mostly because I don't have the attention span. And honestly, 90% of historical fiction just be World War II novels. But anyways, I loved this so much. Now, with that being said, okay. I mentioned the page count of this, right? It's 1,000 pages. Well, okay, my edition is 982 pages, yeah. But I think that also includes an excerpt. So I think the actual story is more like 950 pages. The point is, some of my favorite books of all time are either over 1,000 pages or they're close to 1,000 pages. I don't have a problem with big books. Big books are not the problem. My issue is when books are big and long for no good reason. And I just want you to know, what is that German word where you get kind of enjoyment or sort of a schmug feeling from watching other people experience discomfort? That is what I've been experiencing for about the past week or so. Okay. Because a certain writer released a certain book that is the ending to a certain arc of a certain series. And I read the first two books in that series. And I stopped reading because it was the most overwritten, bloated, dragged out thing I've ever forced myself to drag through. And so it kind of makes me feel vindicated that a bunch of people have read the final book that recently came out and they're saying that it's bloated and overwritten and dragged out. So you're telling me the first 1,200 page book wasn't enough of an example of that? There was not 1,200 pages worth of story in the first book. So I don't know why y'all was looking for it in the second, third, fourth, or fifth. I don't know. Anyway, we're continuing on with some positivity. So, we've made it. We've made it. We are at my final best book of 2024. And without a doubt, this is my favorite book of 2024. It is The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. I have to tell you the story of how this book came into my life. So once again, I feel weird saying this all the time, but I live in Japan. And so English language books obviously are not easy to come by here. And so there is a bookstore that has a couple of locations in downtown Tokyo that sell English language books, but there's one branch that has like a very big, relatively big English language books section, and I just happened to see this on the shelf. Girl, get into the cover first of all. Best cover of 2024 as well. Get into it, sis. Get into this. Okay. The color scheme, amazing. The brush strokes, amazing. And so I literally just put it in my basket without like reading what it was about. I was just like, oh, I recognize Robert Jackson Bennett as a writer, but this cover I needed in my life. However, even when I lived in the States, before I go to the checkout, I always touch everything in my basket to make sure it's something I actually want to spend money on, right? And so I decided, actually, before I just do a cover buy, let me read what this is about. Then I discovered that this is a high fantasy murder mystery. You could have put me in a wedding dress on the spot and I would have said, I do, baby. I was down. But even with how high my expectations were, even with all the excitement that I had, this blew my mind. This blew all of my expectations out of the water. This was such a well-crafted story, and the balance between the mystery and the fantastical elements of the story were incredible. So much so that immediately after reading this, I got out my phone and I ordered the US edition of The Tainted Cup because I want to vote with my dollar, and I wanted Robert Jackson Bennett, whoever the hell the publisher is, wait, these have two different, one says Del Rey and one says Hoderscape? I don't know why that is. But anyways, I wanted to vote with my dollar and let them know I need more of this kind of stuff. I don't know what the publishing industry has been doing for the past few years, but this is the kind of stuff that I want. And then I also immediately made my first ever book pre-order, and I pre-ordered the second book in this series. I am sat waiting on the second book. I'm probably going to take off work when that book arrives in the mail. Probably going to take off. I don't want to do anything else. Don't call me. Don't talk to me. I will be reading whatever the hell the second book is called. I don't even know. I don't care what it's called. It can be called Monkey Toes and Monkey Tails. I'm going to be reading it, baby. I'm going to be reading it. Y'all, The Tainted Cup is absolutely my best book of 2024. And I really hope that this gets more shine. I was so excited to see it in the Goodreads Choice Awards. Of course, I'm sad it didn't win. But just knowing that more and more people are getting their hands on it. And I've actually been seeing a lot of people within the past month or so reading and reviewing The Tainted Cup. So that makes me so excited. So thank y'all. These books almost flew out my hand. Thank y'all for chit-chatting with me today about my best books of 2024. What were some of your favorite books of 2024? Were any of them featured in this video? And if you have read Star Wars books that you would recommend, please, I beg of you, put them in the comments. I'm trying to read all of the things ever with Star Wars, but it's kind of hard to know where to start and where to go. So yeah, let's talk about it in the comments. Thank you so much for your support, and I will see y'all in the next one.